Hey YouTubers, good morning, Robb Moffett. Guys, today we've got a fun video. We're going to do a review of two books. They're on survival. This one is Dave Canterbury's Bushcraft Illustrated, and this one is by John Wiseman. It's a survival handbook. The Bushcraft Illustrated is 248 pages, and the survival handbook is 672. The Bushcraft is about $26 hardback, and the survival handbook is about 21 bucks. Initially I was going to compare both of them as to which book would be a better book for a survival book, like if you were in a plane crash or a shipwreck or whatever, you were in a survival situation, which book would be better. But then after going through both books, I realized it was unfair, because the Bushcraft book, it really isn't a hardcore survival book like the survival handbook. In fact, if you go to the back of the book, even though the book is written by Dave Canterbury, he's the co-owner and instructor or supervisor at the Pathfinder School, which is one of the top survival schools in the country. This really isn't so much a survival book. The very first sentence of the back cover says, "It's time to prepare for your next trip into the great outdoors." And basically, this is a book for someone who's at home and is wanting to go out into the outdoors and enjoy nature and use bushcraft skills. It's not so much a survival book. And if you start off from the beginning, he goes into packs, how to build your own packs. He actually has quite a few pages on how to manufacture your own packs in different types and so on. Now, if you go into the survival handbook, there's only this page. There's only three paragraphs on packs in the book. However, the more research I did into the book, I found that there was another section, it wasn't in the index, where he goes over how to manufacture your own packs out in the wilderness, like make a Hudson Bay pack, or the frames out of the wood and so on, or make sledges and so on. So there is some pack information here related to a survival situation. However, as I began to read this book more and more, I saw that there really wasn't much of a comparison. The survival handbook, even though it is pretty much hardcore survival, there is plenty of bushcraft and outdoorsy stuff in there, but there's just so much more. The other issues I found with the Canterbury's book is that on some of the pages it seems like they're padding. Like if you look at this page, it's kind of hard to make out different types of cook sets. Why? Over here is a half a page and it talks about a steel water bottle and a bush pot. I mean, to me this is not really that helpful information. Like, I don't know what a Trangia cook set is, or why I need to see an illustration of a lidded bush pot. So you have a kind when you have the illustrations in this book, they're more specific. You don't feel like they're fluff. They're really covering a certain topic, where this just seems kind of extraneous. Also, some of the instructions, like for trapping, he does go over it. There's, I think, 6 pages, but in the survival handbook, the trapping has 20 pages. And if I was in a survival situation, I think I would prefer the 20 pages of this book than the 6 pages of the other one. And the same thing when it came time to make something like nets. The instructions for making the knots for the nets were extremely explicit. You could tell exactly how to make your netting knots, which is a really important skill because you're going to get a lot of your protein from fish. Where with the nets in the Canterbury book, I noticed it was actually kind of difficult to make out exactly how the knots were being tied, whereas the knots in the survival handbook were very clear. Now, the other knots are clear that he does go over, but for me, the most important one for the netting knot really wasn't that clear. There were other issues with the Canterbury book. It's just the illustrations for the plants and the animals were just they were graphic, hand-drawn, or black and white, where they were color photographs in the survival handbook. Like you have, oh, where are we? Let's see. You have the color photographs of the plants and the animals and the mushrooms, even the different types of nuts and berries and seaweed and so on. You have color photographs. And then you go into so many other different topics. He has a huge section just on self-defense. I did have to take issue with Wiseman. This is an English book. When he goes over firearms, firearms represent more of a risk than a serious form of protection. Oh my goodness. Well, there are some issues I have with some of the things in both books, but basically I learned a lot. I'm not an expert in bushcraft or survival, and I think both are very good books, but overall I would pick the book by John Wiseman over the book by Mr. Canterbury. There's just so much more information in the survival handbook on so many more different topics, and often it's the photographs or drawings are more clear and specific to what's being covered, that I just like the survival handbook better. Now there are a couple of issues, like if you want to make your own pack, then I would want this book more than the survival handbook, but for just about everything else, I think that the survival handbook did at least as good, if not better. And it's a little bit cheaper, but this is a hard book, so you can't compare for that respect. So that's my quick review for the book by John Wiseman, the SAS Survival Handbook. I'll leave a link to Amazon so you can look at the reviews the other people left. The same thing with the Bushcraft Illustrated Survival Guide. You don't have to buy them from Amazon. You can get them from the library like I did. But I'm going to buy this one myself. It's a very good book. All right, guys, hope you like this little review, and I'll be doing some more book reviews in the future. See you out there.